Does it make any sense to put a $100 lens on a $2,000 camera? Probably not. This lens has some quirks. When it's wide open, it's f2 and there's a lot of vignetting. As you can imagine, at that sort of price, it's not the sharpest of lenses. It's also manual focus, manual aperture, and there's no electronic communication to the camera. But here's the thing. When you're telling a story with your photos, your gear doesn't matter as much as the structure. Think about your last family day out or holiday. You probably came back with hundreds of photos. But did they tell a story, or were they just random shots, snaps of beautiful scenes, pictures of family members in interesting places? This cheap lens is going to force me to slow down, to think about every single shot. And that's exactly what good storytelling requires. There is a 6-shot framework. 6 specific types of shot that work together. A wedding, a sporting event, a day at the beach, any story you want to tell. So today I'm using this setup to show you exactly how it works. And by the end, you'll know exactly which 6 shots you need to look for every single time you want to build a story. I'll give you a little bit of feedback on this TT Artisan 50mm f2 lens. My normal 50mm, for comparison, is this Sony f1.2 lens. As you can see, it's quite a bit bigger, chunkier, and a lot heavier. Could have taught you this in the studio, but that would be a little bit boring. So I've come to Bowness. Bowness on Windermere. It's a lovely part of the English Lake District. We're right on the sides of Windermere. And even it's a bit of a dull day in November, but even so, it's still quite busy. Lots of tourists here. So I'm just going to imagine I'm on a day trip out here and trying to build that story. Now, one thing I should say up front is, well, we're going to combine this to 6 shots. You don't need to just take 6 shots, but you need to think about those 6 categories, which I'm going to go through in a moment. And you can obviously take more and build up those categories and have 2 or 3 shots perhaps in each category if you want, if they add to your story. So let's break down the 6 shots, and I'll show you exactly where and how to find them and what you need, so that by the end of this video, you'll know what to look out for each and every time you want to build up a story of your day out, your special occasion, your holiday. So the first shot I'm going to look for is the establishment shot. This is really about setting the scene, letting your viewers know where you are, what the story is going to be about. So this is usually a wide shot, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up a little bit higher and get a wide shot looking out over the lake, and that'll set my scene. So let's go and get that shot. Right, I'm going to manually set my aperture to something like f8 to give me quite a good depth of field, and then frame up my shot. I'm going to have to manually focus this, and what I've done actually, I've set a shortcut key, this bottom of the scroll wheel, so it gives me some magnification so that I can zoom in and get my focus sharp. But now, let's take a walk around and see if we can find shot number 2. Although I'm talking about my second shot, you don't have to take these shots in the order I'm taking them in. This is just the order that you present them in your final story. You'll take the shots when you see them or when you pass something. In fact, I'm just going to do one thing before I take my second shot. Now, I just want to see what time the boat's departing, because I've got an idea for my final shot, which I'll talk to you about in a few minutes. Well, the second shot is a medium shot, so that's something in a bit closer. So I'm working with fixed focus lens today. I can only zoom with my feet, so I've come down to the water's edge. You can see it's really high. We've had such a lot of rain in the last few days. So again, I'm taking this quite a wide aperture, around about f8. So shot number 3 is a relationship shot. Now, it doesn't have to be between two people, although that's the obvious one to go for. Could also be a relationship between a person and the environment, or it could be an animal. I'll show you a scene we've got here. Loads of swans and geese and pigeons all looking to be fed. Could actually double up as my next shot on the list, but we'll come to that in a moment. So I'm going to select narrower aperture for this. Now I notice this lens at f2 does produce a lot of vignetting, but to get up to like 2.8, it actually produces quite a nice image. And actually, manual focusing is really forcing me to slow down. It's not this kind of setup you could grab a quick action shot on, but it does make you think deliberately about your composition and forces you really to make sure you're getting everything right. This lady's going to feed some of the birds, so let's see if we can get something going on here. The next shot you need in your story are some detail shots. This is often where you will take more than one or two. So just keep your eyes peeled as you're walking around. Interesting things will add to the story. Obviously, as the lake's very high today, there's probably some options there where water is appearing where it shouldn't be. And I spotted a few other things as I'm walking around. A bunch of flowers here. Somebody's put out as a memorial for someone, I guess. Fifth shot is really an action shot, which obvious one for me was the lady feeding the birds again. Getting the birds coming into land, showing the birds moving, the wings flapping. You just look around, see other things. So when you're taking action shots and you're having to manually focus, you really need to take a slightly different approach, and that is get yourself set up, focused, ready for the action to take place, so anticipate what's going to happen next. You saw me looking at the departure board for the boats, so I was thinking about my final shot. That'd be the last boat of the day, everybody getting on board, going back home, going back to where they came from. So that's why I did it, because this is your closing shot, the end of your story, of your life. So you want something signifying the end of the day. You could take a picture of a sunset over the lake, getting back in your car, all the lights on in the town. Just something that helps to close your story. So let me show you how these shots all work together. The establishment shot sets the scene, and I took this from high up looking over the lake because really all the action for this story happens by the waterside. The medium shot introduces the main element, and because we'd had such a lot of rain, the water level was very high, so I wanted to capture something that illustrated that. So I took this sign which saying Q here, where you'd be knee deep in water, just because I thought that added some humour to the story as well. My next shot was a relationship shot. And there was this lady sat feeding the birds, and she was literally surrounded by them. So that's where the relationship is. It's between her and the wildlife. So this next shot is a detailed shot, and there was this little Jack Russell dog paddling about in the water, and it just helped to emphasize how high the water was. He had a cute little face as well, so adds a little bit more interest into the story. So my next shot here is actually an action shot, because when you got right in close, she was actually feeding them directly from her hand, and I wanted to show that in both action. So I've got this dove coming right in, flapping its wings, while there's another one pecking seeds from her hand. And then the closing shot is a resolution or the end of your story. And this was one way of showing it, you know, the tourists on their boat going back to where they set off from. Now, this framework will work for anything. It could be your grandchild's birthday party, could be a sporting event, or it could be your holiday. The 6 shots will help you tell the complete story. Of course, you don't have to confine yourself to 6 shots, and as you've seen through this video, I've taken many more, but I've been able to categorize them in each of the categories I've talked about. So when you're back editing your shots, think about those 6 categories and where you want to put your shots. And then at the end, when you're collating them, you can build that story together, and you can use several in each category to expand on your story. So remember at the start of this video, I asked, does it make sense to put a $100 lens on a $2,000 camera? Well, here's my thoughts on the TT Artisan 50mm f2. The short answer is yes, it can. And the reason I say that is the things I love about this lens is it's small and it's light, and it actually produces a decent result. Things I don't like about it is there is some heavy vignetting and the sharpness isn't great. I've missed a lot more shots than I would have done normally. But if you ask me, would I go out and shoot with it again? And would I shoot with it regularly? The answer has got to be yes, because of a few things. First of all, because it is light and easy to carry around, it's something that I would be comfortable taking with me for a day out. It also forced me to slow down, and it forced me to go back to my roots and to really think about my settings, my composition. And although the manual focus was a bit of a pain in the ass, I think some of it was really down to the fact that I'm out of practice with it. And I think with a bit more practice, I'd get better at it. One quick tip for you, I shot most of my shots in this video on aperture priority. With hindsight, I think I would have been a lot better shooting those completely in manual, because I noticed a few times I hadn't even looked at what my shutter speed was, and I just took the shot without really thinking about all my settings. And often the shutter speed was too low and I got some motion blur. If I'd set it in manual, I would have been forced to think about that as well. So overall, it has its place. It's never going to replace my Sony G Master version. That's definitely the best option, especially if you want to grab some quick action shots. And there was a couple I really missed, like this guy stood in the lake waving his arms. The couple here departing with their suitcase would have made a great ending shot, but it was also a little bit out of focus too. So this is what I think you should go and do. So next time you're having a family day out, going on a holiday, whatever you're doing, try this 6-shot approach. So get that establishment shot, get the medium distance shot, get a relationship shot, get some details, get some actions, and get some closing shots. And you can put them all together. When you're showing your family and friends, you'll have a structure to your photos as you show them. They won't be just looking through random pictures, 1 minute a wide panoramic viewpoint next to a tiny macro detail of a flower head, for example. Now, if you found these tips useful and you want to take your photography further, you can book a free discovery call with me and we'll just have a chat about your photography, where you're at, what you're struggling with, and what you'd like to get to. And I'll see if I can help you. If nothing else, you'll get a plan for the way forward with your photography. I'll leave a link in the description where you can book that free call. Now, thanks for watching. Get out and start telling stories with your photos, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.